Do you want more confidence? Do you want more happiness in your life? Welcome back to another episode, and today's guest is a human being who is a role model in many areas of life. So it's with a great pleasure to bring on today's guest to have his wisdom shared with you so that you can find more of that confidence and actually bring into your life more of what you want, more of that joy, the happiness, and take the decisions that you know that you really want. So with that, help me bring on here Rob Alders. Hi, Rob.
Hi, hello, hello, hello. Good evening, good day, wherever you are.
Thank
Um,
you.
Good to be on this, and yeah, happy to be here. Good to see you again.
Yes,
So,
really appreciate having you on. Would you mind sharing a few sentences about your background for those that never met you before?
yeah, for sure. My name is Rob. My third life started in 2012. I lost my job then, and it was the best thing that happened to me. At that time, I was 54. Now I'm going to become 64, and it's been an amazing journey. I had the opportunity to reinvent myself, and I started with a blank white canvas, and it was amazing. So I learned how to trade, I learned how to invest, I learned what personal development was, and in basically, I had an amazing experience. I wouldn't want to change it for the world. But, like everybody, the pandemic hit us all. And that changed our life major, major, everybody. And the funny thing about that pandemic was everybody was hit, but everybody thought about number one. And it happened to me as well. But I thought about what happened to other people because the world around me was changing really a lot. And now I'm almost 64 years old. My birthday will be in a few days' time. I've been looking back, and 2024, I decided I'm going to be doing what I did in 2023, but I'm going to have a lot more fun and enjoy it.
I love that, Rob. And just listening to this opening here, I can hear some of the beliefs you have as well, which comes back to that appreciation, gratitude, and being able to find a gift in what happened. Maybe we get to touch upon a little bit more of that because with what you said, you want to bring in more joy. That reminds me of something you have shared with me earlier, your formula for happiness. And you talked about that is where reality meets expectations.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate upon that and maybe even repeat that formula for happiness so people listening get to hear it?
Okay. Look, I'm not that such a fantastic guy that I think of all these things, but I read a lot. I speak with a lot of people. I'm always interested in knowledge. So I hit on this guy, an Egyptian fellow. His name is Mo Gaudar, the number two of Google. And this guy lived in Dubai, the rich life. And his son got an appendicitis. And his son ended up in the hospital for a simple operation. And his son died. Can you imagine? And so he was in grief. And he was thinking about his life, his son, and everything. And he's a thinker in the sense of how do you program things? How do you find formulas? And he came with the formula for happiness. And that's where formula is reality plus expectations, or reality equals expectations. And so I heard that and I started thinking, wait a minute, okay, so how does that work? And what I concluded was you can't change reality. You can't. But on the expectation side, that's where you have control.
Mhm.
So if you can change your expectation, but don't downsize it, don't make it worse, but make it different. And in the personal development world, you're always talking about changing your perspective. I thought, wait a minute. So if you're unhappy and you can't change reality, then in order to become happy, you need to find a way to change your expectation of things. And if you can do that, and it's a muscle, you need to exercise it. But if you can do that, you're always happy. So it
How many?
means you're happy, but you have challenges. You're happy, but there are difficulties. You're happy, but your health is not optimal. And that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you understand and you have your expectation, you're still happy.
So, Ram, how have you been able to build that muscle? Like, what tools are you using to build that muscle, as you were referring to, in order to be able to have expectations that matches reality instead of being caught up in, okay, life is not happening the way I want, and then we get pissed off, we get angry, we get frustrated. What tools do you use in order to flip that around, to find that, I guess, like the gift in the moment to be happy?
Well, I have a lot of tools for that. But one of the most important tools that I use is music.
Mm,
And I have a song by David Gilmour, Pink Floyd. He was the guitarist. And he wrote a song called Comfortably Numb.
mm,
And every time I feel I'm in my comfort zone, I put on that song to remind me that being in the comfort zone and being comfortably numb is not a good thing.
mm,
However, if you look at the comfort zone, there's another zone next to it, which is called the fear zone. So you're going from your comfort zone, you go to the fear zone. And from the fear zone, you go into the learning zone. And from the learning zone, you go to the happiness zone, the planning, the looking forward. So
mm,
at the moment that you feel fear, you can go two ways: back to your comfort zone, or you go to the learning zone. And so I
mm,
push through that fear zone as fast as I can, and I know I'll end up in the learning zone. And in that way, that's one of the tools that I use in order to push myself and to, you know, to make everything of my life, to make everything of a day. The other thing that I do, and that's what Tony Robbins teaches us, is prime your day.
mm,
Wake up in the morning, decide you're going to be happy, then do your meditations, do a bit of reading, do a bit of exercise, and start that journal of gratitude. Because then you're forcing your mind to think about things that you're grateful for. And I've never met anybody that isn't grateful for anything. There's always something. Can you imagine waking up in the morning and the sunshine warms your face? Wow, you've got to be grateful for that, or the birds, or anything. So, in
mm.
that way, you prime yourself.
Yeah, or maybe just even having a roof above you.
For sure, for sure. But when you prime yourself, your subconscious vibration is very positive. And actually, that's the law of attraction. Your vibe is very attractive to other people, and they think, hey, this guy's happy. And he's on his way, enjoying his day. What's up with him?
Mm,
And you stop complaining, you talk about nice things, and in that way people are attracted to you, and that is the true law of attraction. But I always say you've got to be grateful for what you have on the road to what you want.
It's so profound, Rob, and I can relate. You sharing this formula as well with we talked about earlier. Okay, the expectations and reality. It just back this autumn as well. I caught myself that I was so tense because I was telling myself like that my life conditions, as Tony Robbins called it, like the reality was not matching the expectations I had, and that made me frustrated. So it's cool to hear that you picked up on this as well. It makes so sense. And then coming back to being grateful for things, getting that focus. I read recently about the brain is actually shaped as well based on what you focus on. So if we kind of look at the brain as a garden, and if we consciously plant flowers instead of letting the weeds grow, and the flowers are all these gratitude things, you will actually wire your brain in a different way, and you will, yeah, have a different experience of life. So it's so cool that you shared some of your tools, techniques here to be able to do that. I was just very curious as well with you call that, okay, you have the comfort zone, we can move into a fear zone. Fear sounds very, um, it sounds a little bit like a place you don't want to go. And based on what you said, okay, if we can push through that, it sounds interesting to call it maybe the growth zone even. And I'm curious with you, what allows you to make decisions so fast? Because that's the key. Instead of sitting back in that comfort zone and staying there, how do you have anything around, or could you share experience around your ability to make decisions? Because you say you want to go through. What allows you to make the decision that you're gonna push through that fear zone, as you call it, or maybe we even can call it the growth zone, because it's gonna happen a lot of growth there.
Well, okay. That actually is a really good question, because why not stay in your comfort zone?
Mm,
Why push yourself through the fear, going into the growth zone, going into your learning zone? Why do you want to progress? Because if you look in nature and you have a bottle of water and you don't shake it, it stays stale, it doesn't move, you start smelling it and it smells bad.
mm,
If your body, if you don't exercise it, it won't be able to move. But by exercising, you know you might have muscle pain. But you don't want to sit there and do nothing. You want to move. You don't want to be a spectator. You want to get in there, and you know you're going to get dirty. You know you're going to get bruised, but it's worthwhile. It's worthwhile. So that's what pushes us. And that's why you always want to move forward. A tree grows, it has pains. But your mind, it's like what the Dalai Lama calls your monkey mind.
mm,
If you think, oh, wow, my mind is bothering me, it's warning me for things that are useless or whatever, try and give that monkey mind something to do. Like you tell your mind, while you're on road, watch out for red cars. And all of a sudden, that mind, instead of thinking, wow, it's taking a long time to go, and wow, it's hot, and it's not nice here in the car, it's very noisy, what does the mind do? I got something to do. I'm going to look for red cars. Red car, no red car, red. So your mind is busy, and you can just go with your heart and go and do what you want, which is driving from A to B. So you've got to control that. And the way I think is, I believe I'm a good person. So I don't have bad thoughts. I don't have bad ideas. And the decisions that you need to make are based on that moment.
mm,
And that's where another very interesting thing comes into is confidence. So you can say, okay, I'm going to travel from my comfort zone through that growth and fear zone to the learning zone. But if you're confident and you know whatever you'll meet on the way, you'll solve. And if you know whatever happens, it'll be okay, you will go there and you'll do it. And that's the way you need to think and make decisions. Sure, you can make the wrong decision, but that's okay. Because once you realize you made that wrong decision, you can adjust it. And you can be true to the people around you. You can say, look, I made a mistake. It's all right. I apologize. Let's get together and sort this out. And that's the way it should work. You know, I used to be a manager with DHL, and I was a stock one of the stock keepers there, and we moved to a new area, new warehouse in Holland, and there was an atmosphere of hiding everything. Like everybody was hiding their mistakes, and they weren't. They were like, "Oh wow, no, I otherwise." If somebody else finds out, they'll try and push me down, or my boss finds out. And what did I do? I made a mistake. It was in the morning. I'll never forget it. And I stood up on my chair. From the chair, I stood up on the desk and I opened up my arms and I said, guys, I made a mistake. I apologize. Everybody looked at me like, wow, what's this guy doing? And from that moment on, that whole department changed. Because now
Wow.
people started saying, hey, Rob, I made a mistake. Can you help me solve it? Let's get this done. And it was a total different situation. So, that's the way you should look at things. That's the way you should do it. And be confident, man. People want to see you win. They really do.
I love that confidence that comes across and you being a role model as well as a leader, because it all starts with you leading yourself. So you stepping up in that moment and creating that transformation in the culture, just creating that safety for people, that is amazing. And I love how you talked about make the decision because, okay, if you fail, you're gonna get that experience sooner, so you can pivot, you can make adjustments instead of sitting around and maybe wonder. That's what I'm getting from what you're saying here as well. That's so cool. And what is it that allows you to get that confidence? What I'm getting from what you said so far, maybe you can elaborate, is it seems you just decide for yourself that I'm gonna find a way. I am confident. Is there anything else to this other than making a decision for yourself that I am confident? Could you elaborate, Rob?
Yeah, sure. Oh, that's really another good question. The thing, the confidence comes from staying true to yourself,
Mhm.
staying close to yourself, your core values. And we don't all have the same core values, but that's okay because being diverse makes it all very interesting. Diverse cultures, diverse characters, diverse everything. And so, in that core value, if you stick to yourself, be true to yourself, you can also be confident. Remember when you were at a new place where you just started your career and you were afraid of making a mistake, or you were afraid because you had to show how productive you were and things like that? You weren't true to yourself. So, when I had a company, and I had new employees, I told them, I don't want you to be productive. And they looked at me. I said, I want you to get used to your surroundings. I want you to absorb the whole place because then you will feel comfortable. And from that comfortable feeling, you're going to go back grounded to yourself. And then you will be confident. And then you will be able to make the small steps. So, making mistakes is part of that process. Making mistakes, and then you think, okay, I made a mistake, but I can solve it. And if I can't, I'll get somebody else that will help me. And so you take these baby steps and you keep on moving forward, and it's okay. But you become more confident and you stick to yourself, to your own true self. Wouldn't that be a beautiful life? Instead of behaving like somebody else, instead of being the harsh, the ruthless manager or whatever. No, you can be kind and straightforward and, inspire the team of people that work for you, that you're working together with.
I feel your heart, Rob. It's so amazing to hear that level of care for the individual so that people can be allowed to be themselves and when they feel comfortable, contribute with what they can. And yeah, well, the reason why you hire them in the first place because of the value they can bring when people live by their own values.
Right?
Hey, just
Yeah.
conscious of time as well, I would like to touch upon something that I know is of big importance to you in order to live by your own values, to be able to make those decisions in the moment that are really going to serve us. And that is the importance of being in the present moment. Could you share with us how you work with yourself to get back to the present moment instead of letting, as you call it, the monkey mind, as I call it, the inner critic, to let that reptile brain, the stonish brain, take over with fear? How do you get yourself back to the present moment so you can make decisions based on your own values?
Well, the thing is, we don't, we're not used to living in the moment. We're not used to living in the now. Sometimes we live in the past, sometimes we live in the future. However, the past has gone, and somehow our mind thinks with regret what we've done in the past. And then when we look at the future, we look at it with fear. We're afraid of the future. However, there's one very, very important thing, that when you live in the now, you are focused on what's happening now. So at this moment of time, the most important thing that's happening in my life is me interacting with you now. However, I can influence my future by what I say and do now. The actions I take now influence my future. So if I discover myself being in the future and fearful, I say, no, I'm aware of being there. I bring myself back to now and I concentrate and focus on what I am doing now because I know 100% that's going to influence my future. So if you're afraid of the future, come back to the now and say, okay, what I'm going to do now and today will influence that future. And it's okay. I am the master of my life. And what happened in the past is all learning. It's the foundation. And your past hasn't been all that terrible. There's a lot of good things in there. And yeah, sure, some things you made mistakes, you weren't happy, or you had a problem, or, so many things happen. That's okay. But now is important because now you can influence your future. And just if you think like that, you become happy and confident, and you're not afraid of taking action because wow, I'm going to my future. And what I'm doing now is creating that future. So you become really positive, energetic, and yeah, you love the future because you know it's going to be great.
Yeah, and the future haven't happened yet in a sense. So yet, and so is there things we are afraid of? Why should we be afraid? It hasn't happened yet. So just let's make the decision right now to shape that future.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's so powerful, Rob. And I love that how you say with that smile and the confidence is beautiful. And as you said, like with the past, it's a learning. And I'm hearing you have this ability, you train yourself to look at it like what's the gift in what happened? What did I learn? So beautiful. Hey, with the time we have available, maybe we get two more questions, but I know that
Sure.
we talked earlier about your formula for happiness, and you said there was something you would really like to share regarding that, a concept that you use that you found powerful, the four agreements. Could
Yeah.
we share a little bit about that?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. I got into contact with the four agreements because I was thinking about what's a burnout? What is this midlife crisis? What's that all about? And I found a book, a small book that was written by a guy, Don Miguel Ruiz, a Toltec Indian from Mexico. And I started reading that book, and it changed my life. It's four simple agreements that you make with yourself. And it's amazing because if you need to practice it, and it hurts in the beginning, but it works out.
People who listening, I just want to emphasize what Rob says here. Like the first time you get exposed to something, it might be foreign. It might not fit so well if you think about it as shirt you put on, but you get used to it. You train your muscle as you practice it. Rob says, well, a muscle. So I just want people to know that okay, the first time you get exposed might seem a little bit strange, or you might, yeah, you make some progress, you learn it, but eventually you get more used to it. So just continue, Rob, so that people really know that it's a muscle that be trained so that you can embrace the thing that you're learned. So please go, Rob.
Okay. Wouldn't it be fantastic if you could break free from the programming of your environment?
Mm.
So, rule number one of the four agreements is be impeccable with your word. Always
Mm.
tell the truth. Don't make up stories. And you'll find yourself speaking with integrity. No hidden agenda. The second agreement is always do your best. It doesn't say you have to do everything, but what you choose to do, you do for 100%. How many times have we done things for other people half-half?
Mm.
It didn't feel right. So why not tell the other person, look, it's not my thing. I choose not to do it. Or if you choose to do it 100%. So that's always do your best. The other thing, the other rule was really powerful. Don't take anything personally. So if somebody comes up and says, I think you're an asshole, I think, okay. And I tell them, sure, you're entitled to that. And they're like, you're not hurt? No, not really. It's your opinion. I respect it. But I'm not an asshole. I just did something you don't agree with. And once you do that, you free yourself from anything that any attack or, you know,
Yeah.
somebody attacks you saying, okay, you made the wrong decision. If you don't take that personally, you're going to step over it and start working on the solution. And the last agreement, and I can hear Tony Robbins shouting and saying that,
Virtual
is
drum roll.
don't ever make an assumption. And what does Tony say? Verify, clarify.
Yes.
So always, if you don't understand it, or if you don't make an assumption, you don't understand how somebody else thinks about it, or what kind of a meaning they give it to it. So always ask questions. Always be curious and say, okay, well, do you mean this? Or do you mean that? Or was that the idea? And if you don't make those assumptions, there's no disappointment in anything because you're clear on what you need to do or what you need to understand, and the other person is also clear. So these 4 agreements have changed my life, actually. And I read that book every year in December. It's a small book. I read it every year. And yeah, it's changed a lot of things for me. Amazing, though.
The 4 agreements. I love what you brought up at the very end. Like all of them are really great. And just think about the last agreement there as well. Like don't make assumptions, because it could be tied to what you said earlier. How I see with the expectations. If if we put up things we want to happen a certain way, but we're really not sure, we put up these assumptions instead of
Your screen seems to have frozen. I don't know why that is. I think you might be having a
I
bit
just
of.
want to be I just want to be respectful of your time.
Yeah.
So so if you have any final comments, it's been really pleasure having you on, getting your wisdom on this. How can we get back to the present moment, being able to make decisions based on the time now, so that we can shape our future with that consciousness instead of being run by any fear, and make decisions so we can spend the less time as possible in the fear or growth zone and really get to the other side with the happiness. Any final
I'm
comments, Rob?
I'm going to leave you with one more thought. I told you 2024 is going to be the same as 2023 with one big difference. And that is I'm going to have a lot more fun and I'm going to enjoy it a lot more. So I'm going to leave you with one last thought. When you start your day with work, don't make a to-do list anymore. Make a to-be list. Think about that one.
Yes. For me, it ties to what you said about the values and make a conscious decision of how you want to show up. It's beautiful, Rob. And for you listening as well, leave your comments on that, what that means to you. We're curious to hear. Rob, thank you very much for
Thank you.
coming on, sharing your wisdom. And it's been a fun, it's inspiring to hear. So thank you for taking that precious time to come on and share with us.
Well, it was my pleasure. Yeah, and I really enjoyed it. Really good questions. I love the moment. And yeah, think about it. If you have any questions, try and answer your own questions. But if you're stuck, always cry for help.
Is great strength in that, being open to ask for input and help. So I appreciate that comment as well, Rob. So take that with you for you who listening. Rob, have a great rest of your day. We'll talk soon. And for you listening, leave your comment what your thoughts are on what being shared here. Looking forward to hear from you so we can support you on your journey.
Well, bye-bye. Take care.